Commonwealth of Pennsylvania do not agree that there is a civil right to same-sex marriage. The majority of people and the majority of courts have rejected that view. It is your personal view, and you're trying to use the law to endorse that point of view. And I would just say that the people here in Pennsylvania who are watching or listening on television should note that Senator Leach basically confirmed that these are likely to be the consequences of same-sex marriage, that you should expect to get treated like a racist.
No, wait,
Just
I didn't actually say that.
Well, it sounded close to me. You can replay the tapes, or I'll let the audience, not only here but elsewhere, decide. It was very close to a defense of saying not that this won't happen, but it's okay if it happens because that's what happened on the racial issue. That's what it sounded like to me, and I don't know. And you can have leave to extend and adapt your remarks as you go along. But I would ask you on the school thing, it would be very easy. Just if you're going to, and the next time you propose your same-sex marriage bill, would you propose an amendment that gives every parent a right to withdraw their child from teaching in the public school about gay marriage if they want?
Well, first of all, I'll respond to your thing. I would say, just again, people can play the tape, but what I thought I said, and when I said no one is calling Maggie a racist, how that was interpreted into you will be called a racist if you do this, I'm not clear on. It was not personal.
You were very nice to me.
Oh, but I'm nice to everybody.
When I pointed out, you are a nice man. When I pointed out the way that law treats racism, your response was, that's a good thing, essentially. That's the way you get to be treated if you're a racist.
No, I didn't say that. What I said was,
So Loving v. Virginia led to the withdrawal of the tax-exempt status of dissenting organizations on the racial issue.
Do you oppose?
Do you agree? I agree with that on race. I've already said that.
Okay.
So would you add, next time you propose a same-sex marriage bill, would you add on a provision guaranteeing that the state tax-exempt status of religious and charitable and educational organizations would not be affected if they do not recognize same-sex marriage?
Not only have I did. I don't have to wait.
I saw the language. That's about solemnization, not about recognition.
No,
it comes from
well, let me tell you my
recognition.
position. Let me tell you my position. My position is no religion should have to do anything they don't want to do. Not only that, there is nothing that the Pennsylvania legislature could do that would make any religion do anything they don't want to do, because there's a First Amendment right to religious freedom. But I put it in there anyway, and I'll tell you, and I will make this point. There are religions now, some Catholic sects, for example, that don't recognize marriage between people who've been divorced previously. There are Jewish, I'm Jewish, there's Orthodox Jews do not recognize marriages between people of interfaith marriages. There are a lot of other people who don't recognize different kinds of marriages. I am completely indifferent about that. And in fact, I would defend their right not to recognize it. We don't want religions to be forced to do anything they don't want to do. And I want the people, as Maggie says, the people of Pennsylvania to understand that. This is about the civil law. Because you know what? Not everyone has the same religion. And while everyone has the right to live their lives according to their religion, no one has the right to use the power of the state to force other people to live according to their religion. People get to live.
Did I hear you just endorse polygamy for Muslims?
I'm sorry?
Did you just endorse polygamy on the grounds that the state can't restrict people's religious rights to get married however they want?
No, I said the state should stay out of religion. The state should define marriage for the state. Religion should define marriage for religion. Polygamy is a totally different situation because, and again,
aren't you interfering with people's religious freedom by refusing to recognize their marriages?
No, because Muslims can, I'm not sure Muslims support polygamy, but if they do, I'm not an expert on this, if they do and the mosque wants to recognize it, that's fine. I would oppose recognizing that under civil law because that, unlike same-sex marriage, it changes the rules for everybody. If you're a polygamist, if polygamy were legalized tomorrow, presumably I could marry a second or third wife. Not going to happen, dear. All right, but so that changes the rules for everybody, and I don't think that's right to do. And I think that would undermine marriage because of all the things about the mingling of the couple. But again, of all the states and countries and cities around the world that have legalized same-sex marriage, 0 have legalized polygamy or interspecies marriage or pedophilia or any of those other things that we hear about the slippery slope.
Before we get too far down
none
into
of which I said, but I would say I was 2 weeks ago asked to consult in a legal case in British Columbia where the right to same-sex marriage is now being used as the basis for an argument that there is a legal right to polygamy. I don't know if it will happen. That's not the groundwork of my argument. The point I was making is that marriage, if there is a civil definition of marriage, you have to have a reason for why it's constrained one way or another. There's no way to have a neutral position on marriage that matches everyone's religious views.
No, that's
right?
why, I'm sorry.
My view is that the reason we get involved in intimate relationships when the government is involved in this way is because there is a common good interest in trying to make sure that when men and women have sex, that they do not produce these fragmented families. Same-sex couples don't fulfill this interest, and in fact, their inclusion in marriage will change the definition of marriage for everyone in a way that will make it clear. We reject this idea of marriage. We no longer believe it. If you believe it, you're going to find that the government is going to interfere in a variety of ways, not by throwing you in jail. There is a First Amendment to interfere with the transmission of an idea the government has defined as against basic norms of equality. I would say that I would be happy to work with Senator Leach on coming up with more effective religious liberty language, because the language that he has now doesn't do what he says. It would not protect the tax-exempt status of charitable organizations. It would not keep Catholic charities from being run out of the adoption business, as happened in New York, in Massachusetts and Washington. There are serious issues here, which just saying, well, I think you should be able to do whatever you want in the mosque or the church, doesn't address, because marriage is a legal status. It obligates third parties, okay, to recognize these unions as marriages.
Just 2 quick points.
And that's why it's
I'm sorry.
everyone's business.
2 quick points, and then I'm going to have another question at some point.
All right. First of all, Maggie says that we want to make sure when straight people have sex, they don't come up with these fragmented families. I agree with that. That's why I support heterosexual marriage. What I'm arguing is that you can't say that there will be fragmented families and that fragmented families are a bad thing, but they're not bad for gay people. I don't want gay people's families to be fragmented either. I want their families to be, as stable and committed and monogamous, all things Maggie has written, that marriage encourages. And so that's what I want. On the Catholic folks in Massachusetts, and just today, by the way, it's interesting, parenthetic, I don't even know if Maggie knows this, there was, in Maine today, the Catholic bishop stopped feeding homeless people in the largest social service agency, not because of same-sex marriage, not because they're forced to comply. Maine doesn't have same-sex marriage, because they opposed repealing the same-sex marriage, and as a punishment to them, they were done. But I would just say one more thing, and I promise I'm almost done.
6 more things. But
Wow,
yes.
that's really reassuring. They punished a church organization
No,
from
the church.
feeding
The church
The church
punished.
is trying to punish the homeless people for
Yes.
supporting gay marriage.
Well, look it up. It happened today. It's on the news. So I mean, I hope you share my.
All right, guys, there is a moderator here
Okay.
for a reason.